Let's see here. It's saying excellent connection, and we are live, man. We actually got Rich in the chat already, saying good evening. So how's it going, Rich? Good to hear from you.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Um,
I know it's late for Rich,
yeah.
but Stan just woke up an hour ago, so this is what we got.
Dude, I definitely wanted to talk about the protests, at least in Chicago, if you wouldn't mind opening up on that. Like, it's a touchy subject,
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
but man, it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like it's been weighing on me. I live like 15 minutes outside the city, I'd say, where it's all going down, and I've just been listening to the radio, the police scanner all day, and things are escalating. And it was weird because I started off uh, kind of thinking about like the worry of it and like the fear of it and all that stuff, but it's just like I firmly believe that this is all going to be good. Like
Absolutely.
it's gonna be messy,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
the outcome will be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, well, first of all, everything comes down to, you know, this time comes down to what is, um, of danger to you personally, and what is of danger or importance to the rest, the society, the world, the country, whatever. And so, while I may have been critical about like the public health policies and the way they've been enacted surrounding COVID, um, I never once have wanted to get across to anyone like you shouldn't be careful about your health. And so kind of that's how I feel with um, the rioting is that like this was inevitable. Like, and I've been saying it like, once they did like the lockdowns and everyone was kind of like confused about it, I was like, oh shit, we'll just wait till the rioting and looting. And I'm surprised it took this long. But that's the public thing with looting. Is like I totally support. Now, I don't like that people are smashing up small businesses. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, burn the fucking Target down. Who gives a shit? But it's like, there's businesses that were already hanging on by a thread. Now they got this. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And so I think that's super counterproductive. And anything that people are doing to intentionally hurt people, I don't know. Like I don't really agree with that, but I agree with the anger. I agree uh, with the energy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
from the public thing, like rioting and looting is a symptom of a diseased society. And we've had all of these signs showing how diseased our society was, and it leads to this. And so, like, I totally get it. It was inevitable. We haven't changed the zeitgeist of our society um, at all. Like, we're more accepting. With most of this being over race, like people of color have come a long way in their rights since the last time we had race riots or whatever, like in the 60s and stuff. But we haven't really changed the zeitgeist of the people. Like we're still inherently racist, basically. Like everyone is, to what extreme is whatever. But like if you were eating in a cafeteria and like you didn't know anyone and you walked in and there's a table of a whole bunch of black people and a whole bunch of white people, like black people are going to go sit with the black people, white people are going to go sit with the white people. That's like just a thing in us.
Yeah.
um and so we haven't changed that, and so there's always going to be race problems. But that's the public, like that's why I understand and agree with protesting and rioting right now. However, from a personal standpoint, you got to be a fucking idiot to go down there unless you really really feel that you are going to make a difference being down there. Chances are you're just going to get hurt or get in trouble or have some traumatic experience. So it's like writing and stuff like that. That's a young man's game. And maybe when I was 20, I would have
Mm-hmm.
been down there. Like I would have felt strongly enough about it.
Yeah.
Um, well, not really. When I was 20, I would have just been at home getting high. But I would have felt like, man, I should go down there. To where now, as a older man, I'm like, holy shit, I'm glad I live in the suburbs and I'm nowhere near that.
Yeah. I mean,
But
there's no denying though that it's like a historical event, and like that has an
right,
appeal to go witness that.
right.
You
So
know.
in no way am I going to ignore it. Like it is an important thing, and um, you know, it's weird also as a father. It's like I need my kids to understand what's going on too, as much as I want to shield them from stuff like that. It's like a discussion I kind of got to have with them. But I think part of it that comes with, like, the wisdom of being older or whatever is like, I've seen this shit before. I moved from the middle of nowhere in the country, uh to the city, and lived, in the city, in Cincinnati, and that was right away when I moved here. Like, was the race riots, that happened in Cincinnati, and this didn't spread nationwide, but it was very much about the same thing. A guy got like tased by the police excessively, and it killed him. And same thing. I mean, the whole city just exploded, and shit was trashed.
Yeah.
And that was like right when I moved here, and I was like, holy shit, what I get myself into? Like, the worst thing that happened this time last year where I was at in my reality was, the Tingu's cows got out, and, like, people had to chase cows around town, and like all of a sudden now I'm living in an area where I'm dealing with, like, you can't go down here because you get hit with rubber bullets and tear gas or whatever.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
um,
It's fucked up, man. Like,
yeah,
but what you did say about the energy is like I couldn't agree anymore. It's like it's overdue, and it's just pent
that,
up to the point that it's spilling over. Um,
mhm.
but we got some more people in chat. We got Black Radius, how you doing, man? Ryan Dodson in the woods came in and said, "Hey, nerds." Um, Rich asked us, "Do you think this last 4 months escalates to something more? Goes after the banks, the higher classes?" Um, what's your thoughts on that?
Right. So you got to look before COVID. What the fuck was going on in other countries? The same thing. You know, uh, China was dealing with,
Hong Kong, yeah,
yeah, with something just as bad as this.
yeah,
And then it was like, oh, there's a virus, y'all got to go inside. So I think what's going to happen is that wave two everyone's talking about is going to hit pretty soon, and it's, they're going to amp up just like the media is ramping up the rioting and the protesting right now. The media is going to ramp up the virus scare again, and everyone's going to go back inside. Like, it fucking sucks, but like, I think they're going to at least try to do that. Will it work? I don't know. People
mm-hmm.
might be over it now, but um, I think as far as the banks and stuff like this, I think all of this stuff is a distraction of what's really fucking going on. And, that the dollar is a reserve currency, and um, just the crazy amount of corporate debt there is, and the fact that banks can lend at zero reserve banking now, and all these crazy things that sound like they don't make any sense to most people. If like someone's like worried about the riots going on outside their house, and you're like, yeah, but look at the fucking zero reserve banking and zero interest rates from the Fed, people be like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? But it's like, well, kind of is like the top of the pyramid, like the shit rolls downhill and it ends up being rioting and looting at the bottom. But if you follow that shit uphill, like the whole banking industry and stock market, and like the fact that we just printed $7 trillion out of nowhere and gave it to corporations to inflate their stock prices so that the economy looks like it's doing good, even though the most people ever have been unemployed, like all that stuff. Like, what better way to distract people from starting to realize that that's a big deal than overhyping a pandemic, and then amplifying protests that are going on because of an unjust law enforcement system. um I think that um I don't know, I shared some videos uh on the Discord, of potential agent provocateur, uh, stuff going on. And, I think that's a legit thing that just furthers the distraction and increases the chances that the people who are probably in the right, or definitely are in the right, that are protesting, will look like they're in the wrong because they get violent and destructive. And the agent provocateur is like a person usually from the, government or the police force that makes shit worse, and gets people to do illegal stuff. Like if people were there to be a peaceful protest, and then all of a sudden someone starts smashing shit and fighting people and breaking windows, and then everyone starts breaking windows, and then it just kind of descends into chaos. It looks like that happened in Minneapolis, and I don't know. I mean, it's a little conspiracy theory ish, but I could see there's need for the elites to do that, and I know some people say it's like George Soros, and like I don't know who, but there is benefit to this, for elites to distract while they, basically steal everyone's pensions, and it all comes down to money eventually. uh so where it ends, I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean
I do think
the
that
rich keep getting rich, man. I mean, all these you see the news articles every day about the billionaire class still making billions even during this, you know. Um,
absolutely.
but we got some more people in chat. We got in the wood said it's gonna suck when you'll have to have a vaccine to do anything out in public. Yeah, man, it's gonna be. Hopefully, it's not a microchip situation. I feel like there'll have to be some documentation though. You know, it's gonna have to have people that I don't know. For me, I think that it's gonna be forced on people to get the vaccine, like he's saying, you know, just so that you can experience everyday life like it was. I don't know though.
Well, the one thing you mentioned, microchip, like I don't believe in that.
No,
That's ridiculous.
I don't
They've
think
already
people would subject to it. That's the biggest
they've
thing.
already microchipped us. They
Yeah,
won
yeah,
that
true,
battle. Like,
true.
if you don't want a microchip, fucking throw this thing in the lake, because like it's they got us. They got us. Like, and that's what I think is funny is because I listen, like I said, to This Week in Virology, Twiv, and I so like I don't really even want to hear anyone's opinion on the science of the virus unless they've like at least listened to one episode of this, because it's like
Yeah, I have to check that
I
out.
I,
You
I,
keep
I
mentioning
don't
it.
trust the government. I
Yeah,
don't trust internet conspiracy theory sites. I take it all in and go, that's interesting, for my own opinion. But like, I believe scientists are pure. Like, there could be underreported or overreported data or whatever, but if someone can hold a 3-hour conversation about the RNA mechanisms of the protease attachment of a virus, like, I don't think they have a fucking agenda there other than science. And uh what was it say? Oh, like the vaccine stuff, like,
yeah,
it will be legit. It just may not work. That's the other thing that they say, is like, if we're rushing this, um
yeah, yeah.
it really may not work. And they've been working on a vaccine for this since 2014, or no, it was 2004, or whenever SARS was, whenever that was. And ain't got nothing yet. Now there's a lot more money and a lot more urgency,
Hmm.
but coronaviruses have not been proven to be, uh, you know, able to get a vaccine for. They also use the example of HIV. How long have we had HIV, as being a serious public health risk? And ain't no vaccine for that yet. Just in the last couple of years, there's been a drug that seems to block it, but you have to continuously take it.
Yeah,
There's no vaccine for it. So we are under this impression that we can vaccine our way out of any viral situation, and we can't. Um, but that being said, if they did have a vaccine come out, I do think it's gotten to the point where they would require, jobs would require it. Uh, you could still live life, and whatever, without getting a vaccine. Um, but I don't know. Me personally, like, I would just take the vaccine.
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but I understand if people don't like taking vaccines. I don't take a flu shot, but it's because it's not that bad. Like, and the last
Or it
time I got
hasn't been
flu,
that
it
bad.
hasn't been that bad, but
Yeah,
but it's like, the last time I did get the flu, I had gotten the flu shot that year. It was like the one time in the last like 13 years I got the flu shot, and I got the flu that fucking year,
Yeah.
and whatever. So like, but this one I would, especially if it's gonna fucking be super complicated to live life without having it. Like I'm gonna have it.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't. The one thing that concerns me about that situation of requiring it is like, I it's like the peak uh like one reason that it's hard to like live uh in like a situation like this is because we don't understand evolution and our place with everything, and like this shit happens. Like there's viruses that take out mass parts of populations, whether doesn't matter what animal it is, and we're not above that. This could happen. Shit happens like with invasive insects where they kill off
Yeah.
entire species of trees. Like it's just we're not above that. We're part of everything. And you know, we can't run from that. And I feel like that's what um lockdowns and even vaccines are, doing. We're running from the inevitable uh realization that
We're part of it.
we're part of this fucking
Yeah.
thing, and we're not living in balance. That's the
Yeah.
biggest
Yeah.
lesson we should have got from all this lockdown stuff, is that like it took 2 weeks for LA to have the cleanest air on the planet, and all it took was us not having fucking vehicles driving around all over the damn place, sitting in traffic and fucking burning fossil fuels.
Yeah. Hmm.
That should have been the biggest takeaway. um
Yeah, man.
Aside from like we weren't ready to like implement any sort of public health emergency. We weren't ready, and because we're not willing to, and like,
Yeah, we weren't prepared.
yeah. But
We
I
got
mean,
we got some more people in chat. We got ha 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 ha. What's up, man? He said plus China versus USA over Hong Kong and Taiwan. Big potential fight right there. He also brought up something about currency. We'll come back to that. Black Radius said, I believe the vaccine will be legit. He's just wondering how mandatory it will be. And Crystal Skull Tuna chimed in. How you doing? She says she is wary of a rush vaccine as well.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, and so the virologist view is that therapy, either an antigen therapy or some sort of drug combination, whatever, just ways to mitigate the severity of the sickness. With this one, we got lucky that this mortality rate is so low, and the percentage of people that actually even get anything debilitating, that it's rather low. Like if this was Ebola or you
Mm-hmm.
know something that just really fucking ravages almost everybody that gets it, like this would be terrible. So we just need to be more prepared for our medical system, which we weren't. And so that's the other wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
What
so
what
going
about the China versus USA over Hong Kong and Taiwan? I don't really know much about that.
right. So I mean that's a whole thing. Like so they're definitely the lab. This wasn't a virus created in a lab. Like I don't believe that at all. Like it would take a massive cover up involving tons of scientists to or some major virological breakthrough and genetic breakthrough of genetic manipulation, um, that not only was discovered in secret but used for nefarious reasons to make this virus in a lab and make it look like it wasn't. Um, but that's not to be said that the BSL-3 lab that was working on coronaviruses from wild populations in Wuhan didn't go, oops, drop this vial. Like that could definitely happen, the conspiracy theory wise. And uh, who knows if that was a covert thing with the US against China to make it look like them and whatever. There's definitely a lot of China versus US stuff here that goes into the currency as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
you
he
know,
actually
and
he actually brought up a point about that. He said the Chinese have built a digital currency and are about to
yeah,
deploy it. the USA is behind big time. The yuan could be the new global reserve currency with that.
Yep. Yeah, I totally could see that happen. I think there's, cryptocurrency and digital currency plays a big role in all this shit that's going on right now. Um, and whether the virus is a coincidence or a part of that, I don't know. Um, but everything's fishy. Everything's fucking fishy, man.
It's
And
all weird.
and that's part of, to go back into to bring that back to the riots and stuff like that. That's part of that energy, is people are so fucking confused and angry, and then on top of all this confusing, angry shit, there's still racist ass, shitty, power hungry cops killing fucking people.
Yep.
You know,
And it's just
well,
enough.
well, actually, not even whether they're racist or not. Like, even that part could be fishy and manipulated, where we're only seeing the videos that are white cops killing black. I don't know about all that, because I only know what I see, and so I definitely think that like, that cop is racist that
Oh
killed
yeah.
George Floyd. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I even
The media
in
can be
Minnesota.
manipulated, is what you're trying to say, easily.
Right. Even in Minneapolis, there's been a high profile police overreach killing every year. And one of them, I don't know if you ever saw this video, where this white lady called the cops and came out to meet them at the road. And the cop, I think it was the cop, like the cop in the passenger seat was talking to her, and she was just like in her pajama pants. And the cop in the driver's seat shot her dead. Like, thought she
I
was
didn't see
reaching for a
that.
gun or something. Yeah, so like, I mean, that happened in Minneapolis too, but we weren't in this crazy weird time. And I don't know, it's so weird, because there's a video every week of a cop killing somebody that didn't need to, that was unarmed. But it wasn't this time, where everything was so
That's what
confusing.
yeah,
and
yeah.
and it's
Everything
like this.
lined up.
Right.
And like
you know
weather's getting better. Here in the city, we haven't opened up, but Illinois opened up. It's like all these factors came together
yeah,
at this time to create this massive reaction
yeah.
of energy. Um,
Right. And so it's just inevitable. And I've been saying
yeah,
it, like, I mean, I don't know if I've, mentioned it on the podcast or so, but I've definitely mentioned to people, I'm like, just wait for the fucking riots. Like,
yeah,
once there was so much government overreach that they said, no, you can't go to your restaurants, you can't go to your friend's shop, you have to stay in your house, you can't go on this playground, but you can go to Walmart over there. Now, we have to put yellow tape around this playground that nobody ever plays on anyway, that you take your kids to. Get the fuck out of
yeah,
here. It's not
yeah.
safe. Go to Walmart. Go to Target. Come on, get the fuck to Target. You can't go to your hippies fucking head shop. You can't go there, even though they sell cigarettes too. You got to go, like, whatever. You got to, you can't get your rolling papers at your head shop. You got to go to Walmart. Okay.
Yeah.
Walmart's essential. And once there was that kind of fucking double standard and government overreach and loss of freedom, it was inevitable. There was
Yeah.
going to be rioting and looting.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, I thought
and
so too.
yeah,
I mean, it's just
so
you can't hold people back for that long. Like
you
it's
can't.
just we definitely appreciate our freedom here, and if you restrict that, we bad things gonna happen. We got Ryan Dodson. Thanks everybody for contributing. By the way, let us
Yeah,
know how
for sure.
everybody's
Thank you, guys.
doing. Hopefully everybody's staying safe tonight and enjoying their Saturday evening. Thanks for tuning in. Definitely hit us up in chat with questions or topics or anything like that. We got Ryan has a comment about the vaccine aspect of COVID. And he says, "I worried about a rush vaccine having unforeseen side effects or something from what I've read. Oh, unforeseen side effects or something. From what I've read, vaccines usually take a long time to test for safety." And then Black Radius came in and said, when people start circulating again, immune systems will be so lowered from isolation that they'll be
Yeah,
prone to COVID and more. And I've had that same exact thought. I was talking to, I believe, my aunt about it. Just like all the sitting inside, like, yeah, it's inside. It's definitely, maintaining the what's it called, the peak, flattening the curve. It's definitely flattening the curve, but as soon as everybody starts going back out, like just the common cold and things like that are going to be going crazy.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's why you got to take the vitamin D and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone hasn't listened to the last episode of Dr. Rhonda Patrick on the Joe Rogan podcast, um, man, vitamin D is probably the most important thing right now. And you definitely want to get sunlight. And I've talked about, getting
Exercise.
outside and exercise and,
Yeah.
and whatever, and I'm lucky, I'm working and have been working through this, working outside in the sun and whatever. But I also still take vitamin D and K2 supplements, along with a bunch of other stuff. I mean, I'm, really into supplementation and hippie medicine and stuff.
Hmm.
But the vitamin D, like, I I had it but wasn't taking it, and then after I listened to her episode on there, and that Dr. John Campbell guy on YouTube, if anyone watches his information
I
about
haven't seen him.
the virus, yeah, Adam from Canada was sharing his links, and he's a good source. He just basically goes over the data, like I believe that he's
Just the facts.
just the facts, yeah,
That's a good way of reporting news.
yeah, uh, but yeah, he was talking about vitamin D, and then it's funny because it's another thing where the World Health Organization is like, oh, there's no need to take more than like 200 micrograms of or IU's of vitamin D or whatever it is, and it's like, it no, the data shows like this, and you need 4,000 IU's at least, and then whatever you can get from sun exposure, and I mean, if and then Rhonda Patrick on Joe Rogan's podcast goes into like how uh, rampant like vitamin D um, depletion is in people, and especially in people of color as you get northern in latitude and stuff like that. And I mean, it's like everybody just needs it's cheap, easy, one pill, just take it. Like that's what everybody should be taking now, along with everything else. But that's definitely one.
Yeah. Crystal Skull Tuna chimed in. She said, been taking vitamin D for years and also appreciate Rogan's advocacy for taking care of yourself and building your own health and immunity.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing right now is stay safe, stay healthy is not a fucking the new normal like greeting and, and saying goodbye now. Like it's something that like we need to take seriously, um, and just work on our immune system. You know, I like the vitamin D for sure, vitamin C, like from the get-go, when I was following like kind of some more conspiracy theory people about it, seemed to be something that like was like this virus was designed to like be deactivated by vitamin C and stuff like that. So I've been taking that, but I honestly just feel better just taking like a lot of vitamin C, and I think that's something like I don't eat as much fruit as I should, and I
Hmm.
think like that's one of the biggest like natural sources of it. And so it's like I think I've just kind of always been vitamin C deficient, and um, since this pandemic started, like most of this year, I've been taking like 3 to 6 grams of vitamin C a day, which is a lot,
That is, yeah.
but well, and that was basically off of Rhonda Patrick was talking about that 3 grams a couple times a day is actually what you want to take if you're taking it orally. And I'm not about to get a IV put in of vitamin
Yeah,
C, so
yeah,
that's the only way
yeah.
I'm gonna take it.
Oh god. Did you happen to watch the SpaceX launch today?
I watched it like afterwards. I didn't watch it as it was going, but
Afterwards. That
yeah,
was awesome, man. Like
yeah,
it was crazy. Like you said on the Discord, you perfectly worded. You said it basically is something along the lines of like how it's such a high of human potential while
yeah.
the craziness is going on right
Yeah,
now.
the future of humanity is bright while the present may look dark.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
That was the first like launch that I've ever experienced that I could recall, I guess, that especially including humans. I think the last one they said was like 9 years ago, and I don't think I was really like into it at that point. But
Yeah,
it's like chill stuff, man. Like getting the chills,
yeah.
super exciting.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I've always been into space and stuff like that, and we're gonna have Chris back on to talk about UFOs and stuff
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon, and I mean, it's just humanity. There's two things we need to do, and I don't know if I'll be alive to see any of them, but it's like the success of the human species depends on two things. One is learning how to live in balance sustainably on this planet while not limiting population growth. The other is figuring out how to get the fuck to whatever the fuck those things are, like, and so the fact that that is not that neither of those are the prime driving force of humanity
I know,
is
right?
concerning to me. Those are two of the most back burner issues concerning humans that there are. And that sucks, but I think that's changing, and I think that's why the all this shit is tied in. The corporations have to go down, the banks have to go down, the governments have to go down, the law enforcement has to go down. Like that whole like kind of idea of like let it all fucking burn. That's what they're talking about, because that's the shit that's standing in the way. People want to live in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
People want to explore, but there's no profit in that.
Yeah,
you know
yeah, yeah.
and so like I can look at the whole SpaceX thing, like, and you want to be like, hey, the government is NASA and they fund everything, and we're doing this, and there's Space Force, and like, there's all this stuff going on. Like, we're interested in that, but it's not like, uh, yeah, Space Force and like UFO research and the Pentagon. That's all for like military weapons of how even if we made contact with aliens, how can we get their technologies? We fuck up China more, and like that's
Yeah, right.
that's the government's whole interest in space.
Yeah.
um and
It's not to like
so
propel human evolution.
right. So I think it relies on private industry. And if you look at all the best sci-fi alien movies, like all of the ships, they're part of some corporation or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like even sci-fi people saw that the future of space exploration is private industry.
Yep.
And so that's where SpaceX and I know Bezos is involved with something, right, or
Yeah.
whatever. Like all those people that are really progressive, technocrats, whatever you want to call them. They're going to be what figures out how to get people to other planets
I
and
know.
colonize and whatever, and that's fine.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
I could look at it two darker ways of why they're interested. One is like, this shit's fucking up here, they're trying to figure out how to get off.
Yep.
I don't know, that's possible. But and then the other way is like they're just trying to like you know ravage some other planet of its
Of its
gold or
resources.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't really think that's the case. I think it's all exploratory now. But um
I think some of it is though the we need a backup plan. I think that, I mean, that's a lot of what Elon Musk, I think that's what's driving him, is the
yeah.
backup plan aspect. But
Mhm.
we got some more people in chat. We got Crystal Skull Tuna. I think many of us in the psychedelic community understand our connection to the earth and value our health and take care of ourselves more. Um, I'm generalizing it, but I feel that this is true. I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that's something that these like plant medicines teach us, is we got to
Yeah,
take care of
absolutely.
ourselves.
And I mean, you can go back to my first video talking about COVID. Is like, this is our role, like our role as the spiritual warriors right now, to the psychedelic crowd. um like I said, I understand if during moments of unrest, like the psychedelic crowd feels they need to be out in the streets fucking shit up and whatever. But honestly, I think that just blends into the noise of chaos. The psychedelic crowd needs to be the voice of reason here, and then like when people are like, man, the fucking mushroom dude is like sound makes more sense than the government or the Antifa guy or the whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
like that's where we need to be the adults in the room. um so uh and the only way to get through this time is with love. And I think the psychedelic crowd is the people that talk about that a lot more than anyone else. Love, and you're not going to be able to love if you're not uh you know taking care of your health and wellness.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason that that's kind of all tied into the psychedelic culture, is loving yourself, so that you can love others, and just keep that can spread just like a virus.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and that's the reason, if you look back to the 60s, I like, there's so much about this time that mirrors the 60s. The love-ins, the summer of love, just like that's what needs to be happening. Like, um how
I do
funny
feel
would.
like there's just voices not being heard though, and it's like
Right.
gotten to the point that um that it's just we've tried the pacifist route and it hasn't produced results,
Yep.
so it's like something's got to give,
Right.
you know.
Well, I saw a video, of some street corner in Minneapolis where, I mean, as far as you could see, the camera spread around. Everyone was just holding their fist up in silence.
Yeah.
There wasn't nothing going on, and that isn't on the most media. Like, most of the media showing shit on fire and people burning
Yep.
stuff and breaking it,
Yep.
and so it's like, you know, and maybe that was the advantage the 60s had, is that there wasn't media from all over. And maybe, even though media was a little centralized, um, they covered everything. And uh, the if there was a further bus, like the merry pranksters that went through the middle of this riot, squirting water guns at people, and blowing bubbles and stuff like that, like, maybe they could diffuse a situation right where they were, but they weren't going to get covered by the CNNs and whatever's that there, and so
Yeah.
no one's going to know that happened.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know how much of taking it to the streets the LSD people, or the psychedelic crowd, can do. It's on us to spread that love virus, through our personal interactions,
Mhm.
and there may not be a widespread thing that we can do, because we can't yell louder than the fear, and the
Yeah.
hatred.
Yeah.
The love is more powerful by its example, and not by its message. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it seems that the message of fear and hate is more powerful.
Yeah,
um
I've been trying to practice that too, like being the example. It's hard to do, but I guess it's hard to continually practice until it becomes like a solid habit and who you are. Um, but I think that is the best way, because I was posed the question of like, what can we do? If you don't have a massive following on social media or a platform to stand on or any of that, and it's just like everybody you come into contact with, treat them with kindness and just hope that the ripple effect like takes over,
hmm
and
Absolutely.
see what
Yeah.
happens. We got orange juice after hours. He said he's gonna go on a mushroom trip. He's taking capsules.
Awesome.
Good luck, buddy. Let us know how that goes for sure. In the Woods says shiitake mushrooms have lots of vitamin D. Um,
Nice.
Paul Sevilla chimed in. Just joined, so not sure what topics you've touched on yet, but you should talk about nitrous. It's wild and not many know about it that I've seen. Strongest experiences have been with it and a psychedelic. Uh, nitrous is pretty popular, can be pretty crazy mixer. It's definitely popular outside of the US. Here, not as much. None of my friends intentionally use it during their trips like I've been doing. I know Ruben uses it. That's what he said. And then he said, I've only had ego death when combining a psychedelic with nitrous or being very high. I've never done nitrous, so I can't speak on it. But Ruben, if you want to take the floor.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's interesting. I guess I've never uh talked about that with the ego death. That I've only had what I would call an ego death one time without nitrous, and it scared the fuck out of me so bad that I think, like, I wasn't able to, like, do have it again, because I was like holding back so much. It was like, no one's coming, and hiding from it. And nitrous, once I discovered mixing that uh, with mushrooms and eventually acid, um, it helped. because of the dissociative nature and just kind of like, it just kind of speeds past the scary part or blast you through it. That's where I've been able to have like ego death experiences that only last maybe, in reality, like, what a hit of nitrous maybe lasts a minute, 2 minutes, whatever, to where I've had, now there is some sort of, and I know this from looking at like the time that has elapsed on a certain song I was listening to or whatever. Definitely the mix of nitrous with psychedelics expands the effect of the nitrous for sure, but it's very limited. And I've had these moments of complete eternity of, ego loss and just not knowing or being aware, no I, whatever, with mixing them. And so that's why I'm such a big proponent of it. I mean, I buy the nitrous chargers by the fucking gross. Like I have like I think the last batch I bought 280 chargers.
Oh God.
Uh, yeah, and I mean I use so much of it every time I trip. I go through a whole case, which is 24 of them. Um,
I'm scared
it's
to
just
try it, man. I don't know why. I just am.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I absolutely love that drug, and like I would buy it by the big tanks if I could.
Yeah.
Uh, you know.
Ever since, like I said, I think I mentioned this in a podcast before, but ever since I saw that intervention episode with the duster, like my mind correlates it with that.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean that's noxious chemicals. Like it's
No, I
it's
know.
completely different,
Yeah. Uh,
But yeah, it's I love it. I don't
yeah.
know.
We got Black Radius in chat saying Terrence McKenna did talk about the psychedelic community being an antibody against the sickness that pervades society. Seems quite prophetic now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it, but it's like you have to be the change you want to see in the world, regardless of the pushback there is to that, or regardless of the self doubt you have that it matters. You
Yeah.
know,
That's a good
and
point. That second one's a good point.
yeah, that like you that's part of the spiritual warrior. The warrior part, honestly, you're fighting yourself more. If you're ever telling yourself you don't matter because, what does it matter if I'm sending out, if I'm dropping fire on Twitter, but I only have 4 followers? Whatever. That's great.
Yeah.
You're putting information and energy out into the world that needs to be there,
Yeah.
even if it only matters to 4 people or 4 people ever see it. That's the whole fucking thing with this podcast. Like, there is definitely times, I'm sure you go through it too, Stan, where I'm like, why the fuck are we stuck at the same amount of people? Like, it's not like I want to like retire and be a podcaster or something like that, but it's like I want to reach more people, and it's like,
yeah.
I wanted to help find the others. I guess I fucking found them because it's not growing or whatever. But and I'll go through shit like that, but then it's like, wait, there is more. I've personally talked to, I don't know, 50, 100 people maybe through this that I consider, dear friends,
yeah.
now because of this. And I know there's been people that have talked to each other through this that are dear friends and stuff like that. And it's like, well, fuck, that made a difference. There is ripple effects going out into all different parts of the world just because of that. And so anytime I get upset about that and don't feel like doing it anymore, or don't feel like doing it that night, or whatever, that's just my self doubt, and that's my comparison to other people, and it's we all need to practice acceptance of like we're all just as important to this world, to this universe, as everyone else, regardless of like the impact each other have. Like I'm just as important as fucking Donald Trump is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he just impacts more people.
Yeah. That's a good
You
point.
know,
Yeah, it's hard to like body that though, It's like
it is.
you have to
It's
fully believe in it.
yeah. You have to fully believe in anything to work. Like
Yeah.
that's how the universe works. That's how great. That's why, like, with meditation and gratitude, those are like the two hardest things for someone who's like really suffering from not having those two things in their life. And it's so hard for them to believe that it's going to change anything, you know, and you can equate that to anything, like um, vitamin D.
Yeah.
If you don't believe vitamin D is going to help your immune system, it's not,
Yeah.
you know. Uh, and not saying it's a magic pill, but the more you believe that it is helping you, the more it's going to help you,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
it's the mind is so fucking powerful, and it's like I mean we've talked about it before, but um, one of the biggest examples of how strong our mind is, and that the mind over a matter when it comes to health is a real thing, is the placebo effect, and it gets wrote off as like people are full of shit,
Yeah.
you know,
People are
but it's not.
crazy.
It's that our mind is fucking nuts and can do anything. And when we see an example of that, we write it off as like people are full of shit,
Yeah.
you know. And so like, um, well, I don't know what started that rant there, but
No, it's just
I don't know.
no. You're just talking about how like you have to, if you believe in the ripple effect, then it's there. You know, if you
Right.
believe
Yeah.
that you
That,
being the person that you think you need, that you being the person that you should be out in the world and you want other people to see, you have
yeah.
to believe in that person, for it to work out.
Yeah.
No, totally, man. Like I said, it's hard to body and practice. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. What other topics have you been thinking about recently, dude? I know we haven't recorded a podcast recently, and I know we're gonna get the UFO on, and then we're gonna have another episode with Adam, who's done the full 10-week program of Wim Hof. But
Yeah.
what else have you been thinking about recently during this?
Um, man, I've been thinking like I really, really, really want to have a psychedelic experience. Like I kind of I feel myself becoming a normie, being like like being stuck inside and just like never getting away from my wife and kids. And like my wife and I like really need like, you know, a weekend away. Like we were up in New
Yeah, new
York
place.
last weekend, and it was at capacity. Like we had like 11 kids there, 4 dogs and 6 adults, and um, it was fun and everything. But it's like my wife and I were like, I wish we were here by ourselves with just the dogs, like
Yeah.
it's like it's hard to be there and not have that kind of moment. But that'll come in time. But um so like we need to trip together, and I really need the trip, and
Hmm.
seeing how slow uh we're getting back to anything resembling normalcy. I don't know when that will be. you know
Yeah, yeah. I was like kind of worried at the beginning of all this, like how tripping would go, like if you would have anxiety or had let that overtake you during your trip or anything like that due to this. But I think it's become the normal now. This has become the normal, that it's like I think you'll be able to cope with whatever comes up.
yeah. Yeah, at first where I was like, yeah, I was really scared that this virus was going to be really bad. It was more that than the people and or the government or anything.
Hmm.
I was like really scared of the virus. Um, and for my family too, not just for me. It was
No,
like,
yeah.
I'm still going out knocking on people's fucking doors. Like, who
Yeah.
knows? I could end up being responsible for killing, you know, a whole generation of my family. Like, if one fuck up of going over to someone's house or sending the kids there or whatever, and that has subsided as this looks more and more like government fuckery, and corporate, kind of manipulation. Um, I'm less scared now and just more like disappointed and just trying to use my mindset to like overcome, really, And I think psychedelics would help me do that. I think I would, have a more focused insight of what I'm already feeling. I don't think I would. Well, I never say never, but I
Hmm.
don't think I would have like a bad trip out of fear and anxiety. Uh, But if I did, hey, that's something I obviously got to push through, and
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
need to go in with that intention of like, hey, if this goes south, it's because I need to really fucking work out my own feelings of mortality or whatever.
Yeah.
I am afraid of this virus. I've just been lying to myself, and I need to take my health more seriously. Like I have, like other than work where I walk a ton, like I have not exercised since they closed our gym.
Hmm.
Um, I've
Have they
been
opened back up where you're at?
drinking every night. No, no,
No.
not gyms. No. And the one like the community center where I go or went, they are opening up, but you have to like make an appointment, and there can only be a certain amount of people in there at a time, and they closed the walking track, and you can't play basketball there, and like this shit like that. That's like,
Yeah.
what's the fucking point?
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I should have been doing more like exercise stuff and everything, but
I tried,
uh,
man. I tried to get like exercise equipment and whatever, and it's all bought out. People bought out everything online, and anything
yeah,
that's there is like 40% over markup.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy. Like a kettlebell shouldn't cost me $100 for like a 15-pound kettlebell, and that's what it's doing. So
No, yeah,
I've
and
just been
I mean
trying to do like body weight stuff.
yeah, I have small shit like that, and I mean I could do kettlebell routines and stuff like that, but um, I've really been focusing more on my mental health, I think, and
That's good.
that's half the battle. Um, and honestly, I mean, to be honest, if I like, I don't know, I probably should wear a pedometer or whatever, but like I walk so fucking much at work every day, like up crazy fucking mountains, climbing through bushes, and like like I I have a more active work life than most people, so I guess that's all right. But uh, I've been eating real good and like or like good, like I mean a lot, because it's
Yeah.
just like every night we're like, what the fuck are we gonna do for dinner tonight? And I like try some crazy, recipe full of butter and bacon fat and whatever. And like, so like I've been just eating really rich, um, and then like drinking a cocktail or two every night and stuff like that. So it's like, uh, I think if I did have a negative trip, it would bring those emotions to the forefront of like, dude, get your fucking health together, and
Yeah.
shit like that.
Which is a good thing.
Uh, it is, everyone needs a wake up call like that, but I don't know, man. I really wish, now that the weather's nice and I've opened up my place in New York for the year. Like, I don't know if maybe my wife and I need to tag team. Like, all right, you go up there this weekend, I'll go up next weekend,
Hmm.
and I'll take one dog, leave one here, whatever. Like,
It's
maybe
not
we
a
do
bad
need
way
to
of doing
start.
that, man.
No, I know. Maybe we do need to start talking about that because we can handle that. It's just no one can take our kids right now. Like I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know the next time my kids will spend the night at my parents' house at least. Um,
Have you done any work on opening your place in New York up for like a retreat center or something like that?
yeah, so it was pretty interesting where like we talked to Wiley, um,
Hmm.
and then like the whole time he's talking about how he set his organization up, I'm like, man, okay, I need to like really start working on that. And then I'm thinking about that, and you texted me. It was like, dude, you got to get your idea going. It's like, I know, and it's just and then like when I talked with Jessa Reed, like talked about that, and she was like, this is a timeline you can choose if you want, and it's like, but she's like, it sounds like you're on a decent timeline now, so it's just kind of like the world your oyster kind of thing or whatever. Um, and then like the tarot cards were basically like you're at a fork of two paths or whatever. And then so I talked to Wiley, on the phone just about like, okay, how do I fucking set up a 501c3 and what would it need to accomplish to be accepted and all this stuff. So I talked to him about that for quite a while. Um, and then and both talking with Dressa and with Wiley, the message I got from it was like, start making it real and it's going to happen,
Hmm.
and um like I, just was talking to my sister. I just kind of like let everything. Well, got sidetracked obviously with COVID and stuff, and was talking to my sister, and like she was like, "Yeah, mom and dad like want to sell the place in New York,
Oh
so
shit.
we should go up there this year before they sell it." And I was like, "Well, god damn it, And so uh, I was kind of nervous to like talk to my parents about it, and be like, don't sell it, because it's like
Yeah.
they don't want to like they live in Florida, they have a condo in Kentucky, and then they have this place in New York,
Don't you
and the
maintain it
place,
though?
huh?
Don't you end
Yeah,
up
yeah,
maintaining
but
it though,
like,
right?
yeah, but like they pay the taxes and
Oh
like
yeah.
uh, not like a lot of stuff is broke there, but when it does, like they pay to repair it and stuff like that. But like out of their three places, this has the lowest maintenance for sure. Like it's like the taxes per year are the highest thing, the highest cost of it. So the overhead to just keep this place as it is very low.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I talked with Wiley about is like, getting funding for, uh, you know, to just maintain this land and keep it if I turn it into a 501c3, um to just have this land and maintain it, like I don't need that much funding per year. um and then also what can happen is my parents could donate the property, and our friend that owns all the property around it could donate some property to the 501c3. They could both take tax breaks and stuff like that. So, I was like, okay, well, that's a pretty good proposal to tell my parents. So I called and talked to them. And,
How'd that go?
well, oh, so the other thing my sister said was that they were trying to sell it to a friend of their son that he was interested in. He went up there and was hanging out and stuff like that. So when I told my mom like that idea, she's like, oh, well, uh, our friend's son is into stuff like that. He worked with some nonprofit group that does PTSD therapy in Alaska with veterans, and he's a veteran,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and he's a teacher, and he went to Alaska to build yurts for this nonprofit and all this stuff. So she's like, you should probably definitely talk to him, and I was like, yeah, I should definitely probably talk to him, So I talked to him on the phone for a while, and then when we were up there, met him up there and drove around the property and all this stuff, and talked to him for a couple hours, and um, he had a lot of good insight, and was kind of like willing to help out in whatever way we needed and stuff like that. So it's definitely like the start of a relationship that I'm gonna try to see where it all fits in, whether I go through with a 501c3
Mm-hmm.
or get my parents to get someone else to start one and donate the land. I don't know how it's all going to shake out, because there is some significant financial disclosings that you have to do to be the like head of a 501c3 that I don't really want to go through.
Yeah. What?
Like the
So what did your parents end up saying to your idea? Were they pro or?
Yeah, they just want it out of their hands. They don't need to like
Oh,
sell
okay.
it to make money, and they don't want to leave me out in the cold, and like they know that I love the place and whatever, but it's like they can't just keep farting
Funding
away,
it. Yeah.
$10,000 a year or whatever it is, So yeah, I don't know. I'm just moving along. I like we have a sign there and affectionately call the place Camp Grandma. So I don't know if that's what I want. If I don't know if I want the camp to be just named that, and then I create a 501c3 that the camp is just donated to.
Okay.
Um, I came up with the name Operation Unplug as the 501c3. But like I said, I don't know if I'm going to actually create one or find someone to donate it to and kind of make myself a part of that organization. I don't know. Um, but it's definitely it's. I guess my main point is like that's another way that the fucking universe works is like once you start making something real and following the fucking you know the trails that it gives you, the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
uh the wind is at your back and whatever you try to do in life. And the biggest thing that blows back against that wind is you and your self-doubt. And so it's like if I'm just sitting there like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, nothing fucking ever happens. But as soon as I like put a name to it, and like I drew up on a piece of paper, which I saw Rich do with his farm, like plan out, like here's where I'm gonna put this, and this. Boom, everything starts falling into place.
Yeah.
And it's just the way the fucking universe works. And it's hard to accept, and it's hard to push through, but that's the way it is.
No, that's good,
you
man.
know?
I have
Yeah.
like I was talking before we started this about unemployment, and like I do website development, and businesses are just kind of hoarding their cash right now, and if I were to take any job, it would be like 70% less than my going rate before all this happened. So I applied for the pandemic specific unemployment, and if I got it, it would be a decent sum of money. Um, and my plan was to like go after my goal of getting a van, decking it out so I can live in it and just travel. And to add on to that dream would be meeting you, like going out to meet you, going out to meet a ton of people that are part of this community, maybe having a podcast recording inside my van, stuff like that. Um, and it's hit this like wall where there's no way of figuring out what the next step is in it, and it's just like a patience game, and you never know if you're going to get it or not. It's a big clusterfuck the Illinois government are struggling with right now. And hearing your story though about how like mapping it out, things start to happen. So like maybe I just need to put more energy behind it, and start sketching out what a van could look like. And um, I don't
Hmm.
know, because like I said, I've just like hit a wall, and that's like you said, when the self doubt comes in, and it's just like, maybe this is just a dumb idea. Like maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, and also, I mean, maybe you need a little acceptance of like maybe the van doesn't look like what you think it does, but as long as it has the same purpose as what your intent is,
Hmm.
that will be what falls into place. The purpose will, but it'll be smaller than you thought, or in shittier shape, or
Yeah, that's true.
maybe you just find a crazy deal on a passenger van, and you're just like, well, fuck, that'll get me around to different people that we can do a podcast in there. I can sleep on the benches. I can have enough stuff, whatever. Like, that's the other thing is like, um, yeah, and when for my situation with my land in New York, like I've come to the realization, like maybe the idea I have has nothing to do with psychedelics. That my idea of this being a psychedelic retreat just isn't going to be what works, because then I'm relying on a whole host of other things with policy and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
and laws and stuff like that, to where like I can make this a legit dream that serves the same purpose. Like the same thing I want people to get out of psychedelics, I want at-risk teens to get out of having a mini situation like the Cosmic Giggle did, like of wilderness therapy, but just over a 2-night thing, but being unplugged, you know, like there's gonna be so much need for that, and I think that uh, with other people, I can develop a program that does the same thing, sets the same ripples in place, that my idea of like having someone come and take mushrooms, and I
Yeah.
has a guided experience in nature. um
It's like a refocus of the same idea.
right, and for under the table, not using the nonprofit, the camp is there to have those psychedelic experiences as well, but that's not necessarily the situation I need to have on paper, I guess, is
Yeah.
what I'm starting to kind of accept and realize.
No, that's good, man. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Whether it's just like you said, the purpose remains the same, but the grand idea kind of changes with time. And dude, and,
Yeah.
and the thing is like, okay, so you follow that new purpose, and it becomes the unplug, overnight or like a weekend of an unplugging, and then 10 years, 20 years down the road, when these laws speed up and these psychedelics become legal, then it's the grand idea is there.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I've been actually thinking about like how I need to unplug, man. I looked at my like phone use during this shit. And like there was one day that I hit 8 hours on my phone. And like
Yeah.
granted, one of it was, I think I was watching like Kenny's live stream. So, you know, I have my phone on during that whole time, and it's not like I'm just like going down rabbit holes for the most part. Like that's like a social time for me, but still, it's
Yeah.
like that is a long time to be staring at a phone. Like if you're up for
Oh yeah.
16 hours a day, half of that day was on that shit.
Yeah, man.
Like it just blew my mind. And actually, I
I know.
have in 2 weekends, I'm going to my my brother's, well, my sister-in-law's like property in Indiana, and it'll be pretty secluded and isolated and um, super outdoors vibe, and just totally different and definitely what I need. And like today, I was actually thinking about how like I'm gonna contact my friends before that I talk to on the daily basis and just say, hey, for these 4 days or 5 days or whatever, my phone's off. Like I'm only going to use it for or for music if I want to listen to podcasts while I'm walking around. But in regards to like communication, like it's not going to happen. You know,
Yeah.
I
Right.
feel like that'll do me a world of good for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like again, it's a privilege I have of like my work and stuff like that. But like I leave my phone in the truck for hours at a time.
Hmm.
2, 3 hour stretches. But then I come back to it like a fucking crack addict. I'm like, oh,
Same here,
yeah,
man.
oh, here's some more memes. Cool, like, but yeah, it's I don't know, man. I think it's the phone shit. I think we're in this really hard transition period for the human race of you know until we have neural net from Elon, and it's just like communication's just there. We're in this like clunky conversion to that. And I don't want that to be the case, but I think it's inevitable. I think like the like we're just unless something cataclysmic happens where the whole fucking internet goes down, which I don't foresee happening. Like it's just going to become more entwined with our reality and our thought process and stuff like that. And because of that, it's like, man, if I am one of the last of the people that can turn this shit off, I I owe it to myself to turn it off as much as I can,
Yeah.
and like kind of just soak in the natural, kind of experience. And I think everyone needs to do that right now.
Yeah.
Like especially with like if you're
It's hard to
locked
do,
down and
man.
there's nothing to do, right? There's so much noise going on right now.
Yeah.
You can follow whatever crazy fucking geopolitical rabbit hole you want to go down, and like at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter because you can't go nowhere and do nothing. So like, just enjoy this time because like we're not going to have a lot of time like this going forward.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Um,
just hard, man, because when people would have like 8 hours a day filled with work, they're looking for other things to fill that time, and
yeah,
grabbing something out of your pocket's the easiest thing.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I've been struggling with that, definitely trying to like get out of that. And it was weird because here there wasn't even good weather until like last week, and then all of a sudden like
Yeah,
summer hit. It's like 80 degrees, the AC's on and shit.
yeah.
So yeah, just trying to get out more for sure. I don't know.
I mean, that's probably a big reason that now there's riots and stuff like that. It's like everyone's been rained out, and they're like, "All right, it's nice now.
Yeah, let's go.
Get the Molotov cocktails or whatever going."
Yeah, man, dude.
I mean,
In the scanner, there was like a ton of looting in Chicago right now. I haven't checked it during this, but I'm sure it's like as soon as the sun went down, I'm sure things got a million times worse. Um, but just like tipping the cop cars, ton of busted cop cars on fire. There's a massive like Trump building in the middle of Chicago, so like the cops have like a wall protecting that thing.
oh,
um,
that's good. I was worried about that building.
I was like I wouldn't be surprised if I woke up yet tomorrow and like it wasn't a part of the skyline anymore. Like if they just tore that shit down.
Yeah.
But but yeah,
This
man.
is the first time I've kind of changed my mind that even though Biden is a terrible critic and I'm not going to vote, uh, or a terrible candidate
Candidate,
and I'm not
yeah.
going to vote, I do think this is a situation that Trump can't Trump his way out of.
I agree. I agree.
I think we're going to be too divided, too angry. People are going to be too motivated against everything. And it's not even Trump. I won't even give him the credit of like that. This anger's towards him. It's towards the whole system. Even if Obama was president right now
Yeah, it
during
is the
this, which I
system.
doubt it would be happening if he was president, but uh, I don't know how a sitting uh, government cannot how this can't turn from a protest into a revolution. I don't. I'll be pretty disappointed uh, if we can't do that. But like I said, I don't think I'll be motivated to vote. Um,
Yeah,
just because it's like I
the
don't know,
choices
whatever.
are really bad.
Well, and I'm hoping this is a revolution from the two party system.
Yeah,
Like I would love if someone like
just blows
just
my
came
mind.
out of
There's even a election this year. Like it's almost like how is that gonna go down? You know?
yeah, yeah. But like it's right for someone independent to come through and just be like, fuck these two old pieces of shit. Vote for me, okay? And like and it seems like that could be a decent commercial that people be like, yeah, fuck those two pieces of shit,
Yeah,
and but um I think this is like peak fucking two-party system.
it is.
I really don't know how we go after the next 4 years, regardless of who wins. I don't know how we go back to like Democrats versus Republicans. Like
No,
I don't
it
know.
should just be a form of ideas. Like it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like these ideas with align with these people. Every
Yeah,
candidate should just have their own, and if you agree with theirs, vote for them. You know?
right.
Um,
I mean, our structure of elections and campaigns, from the electoral college um, to the two party system was created and established at a time where people were illiterate farmers, and it caters to that situation. It allows um, uh, at that time it allowed power hungry people with money to manipulate people into voting for them. Um, and now they instead of using those systems, the electoral college and whatever, they could still steal elections with the electoral college. But the more important strategy is to use the two-party system by just getting everyone divided against each other, and you get the corporate interest to support both sides, so they win no matter what.
yeah.
you know and so like the rich guys are gonna fucking win no matter what. There's a little bit of difference between the two, but you know uh
I think though, I think this like the dying off of the two party system, if it is to happen, is also tied into like that generation dying off. Like it sounds morbid, you know, but
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
um, it was ingrained in them since they were born. War was a part of their life, you know, so it's like all those things that add up, and like the decentralization of media wasn't there at the time. All those
yeah,
factors add up to the point that now people are being raised with the internet, you know, so it's just it evolves at such a slow rate. But I think that's
yeah,
like such a critical point for people to like start getting more votes in and get active for a third party or fourth party or fifth party. Um, so actually, Crystal Skull Tuna chimed back in. She said, "Just saw an awful video of Twitter of a guy getting horribly beaten with riders. Could have been fatal. Andy NGO's Twitter, and also a little girl that got pepper sprayed. Your chat is a welcome break. Thank you. That's what we're trying to be. You know, like that's
mhm,
what our Discord tries to be. That's what our podcast tries to be. Is just a break from uh, all that, and a place that
yeah,
you can openly express yourself, because these are ideas that aren't talked about without pointing fingers, I believe. And I like that we try not to really point fingers, you know. um,
yeah.
Sharon also chimed in. First of all, how you doing, Sharon? Thanks for tuning in. She said, how can you not vote? Any is better than Trump. What's your take on that, Ruben?
I it's a protest of the two-party system. I think that's that's the biggest hindrance to our country. Um, is this idea that you know you don't have to be held accountable as a politician for um, for
Horrible
any of your
things.
actions. For any of your actions, you don't have to be held accountable because you just have to say like, well, what are you gonna vote for a fucking the other team? Fuck you, and like so that I don't know. I'm not interested in partaking in that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and so here's the problem. If when I say, hey, I'm going to vote for a third party candidate, if the response wasn't, you're throwing your vote away, well, then I would vote for that third party person. But the problem is that both sides, it doesn't matter, they try to bully the non-voter into voting for their person. And so and then if someone chooses someone that isn't their person but isn't necessarily the opposite of their person, well then you're throwing your vote away. Yet then you if I say that I'm not voting, then I'm wasting my vote, but I'm throwing it away if I don't vote for and it's just like this like cycle of like this logic that it's like, wait, I don't see how this affects me.
Hmm.
Like, and so it's like that my personal opinion is like I put someone up there I want to vote for and I'll vote for them, but I don't need
Yeah.
to vote against someone. I don't vote against people.
Yeah.
I
I think that's a good stance.
I vote against people by not giving them the power over me in the first place. Donald Trump has no fucking power over me. I could get in a uh, elevator with him. I'd be like, "What's up, man?"
Yeah.
Good job on the fucking press conferences, whatever. I don't know. Like it's I'm not. I wouldn't be starstruck by him. I don't recognize his authority over me. Um, like there's I saw a riot slogan of "kill your masters," right?
Hmm.
And I don't agree with that. I agree with the slogan of "invalidate your masters." And that's how I've been a scofflaw my whole life, from drug policy to the credit industry. I've done the opposite of what you're supposed to do in so many situations, and I've still ended up where most people end up. Um, and the way I've done that is by like I don't the one time, okay, the one time that I've been caught and charged with drugs. And part of this is white privilege, and I'll speak to that in a second. But is when I ran from the police, when I validated their authority over me. Guess what happened? I had to pay the consequences for the actions that I chose to partake in that didn't have anything to do with um, or that there's policy against. And after that, I've just been like, this is a normal thing, and I'm careful to not cross paths with a police officer.
Hmm.
That isn't to say, and I understand that is white privilege because people of color are not afforded that as well. That uh, they're not afforded that luxury. That there is profiling. But my response to that is that hippies get fucking profiled too. And I've always been a goddamn long hair with a beard who drives piece of shit cars with fucking goofy bumper stickers and duct tape windows and whatever. I've never driven a nice car. I don't like making car payments, and if it can get duct taped together, then it can get you down the road. And with just shit. Like my car looks like I'm a hoarder because my kids, there's just shit everywhere, garbage and whatever. And I get pulled over frequently, but I'm very careful of like I don't smoke weed while I'm driving, and that time from having weed in my car to my house is the only time that my car will like smell like weed and stuff like that. But I mean, as an adult, I've had my car ripped open and searched and stuff left on the side of the highway, and then like all right, well, you're good to go, leave. And then I had to put everything back, and the cops leave, and I don't get charged with anything because I didn't do anything wrong in the first place. I don't know. I don't let it bother me, and I'm not like, I fucking hate cops. I'll tell you that. But I don't feel a need to like argue with them and be like, get a fucking warrant, motherfucker. Am I being detained? All that stuff that they say to do. It's like, I don't know. You're just playing their game at that point, and it's more like just, you know, I don't know where I'm going with that, but
No, I get your
but
point though.
but from a mental standpoint, I'm not afraid. I don't feel like an underling to anyone who's supposed to have authority over me, and because of that, like I don't feel like I need to vote. I don't. You know, I pay attention to everything. I understand all these policies that they're doing, but the way that I personally feel that society should be is such a direct contrast from anything that is on the table that like my I'm just throwing my vote in the system to go against what someone else doesn't really like, but I don't really care because I don't really feel it has any power over me, and so I don't vote. Like I mean,
Hmm.
if there's an issue I really feel strongly about, and I do that with local
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I voted for um, different levies and stuff like that, and then when I do and I fill out that ballot, I just vote for all the third party candidates if it says a third party, and I leave the ones that's a Republican versus a Democrat, I leave it blank. So like I do vote against people, I guess. In that fact, I vote against the two party system.
Yeah, this is the first time that I'm thinking about not voting. Um, since I've been able to vote, that is. Like, I always was active in it because I thought it could bring change. But it's like, as long as I'll do the local local votes and whatnot, but as long as you're not in like a swing state, it's like you don't. There's not really much. It's not like popular vote really matters, you know. So
Yeah.
if you're not in a swing state, like my state's always going to go blue, you know. So
Right. Yeah.
that's it. And like,
Well, yeah, so the other thing is like I don't believe the federal government should have the powers it has, and like that's never on the ballot,
yeah,
to like like
if that
like
was, dude, people would be
right,
lining
yeah,
up to vote.
exactly. So I don't know. I don't think there should be a president. I don't think there should be a lot of things that the federal government trumps state and local laws. I think that's part of the problem we have in this country is like maybe policies in New York should be different than Texas. That's two completely different people,
Hmm.
two completely different realities. Um,
We got some more in the chat. We got Patrick Manning and BJ. Both of you, thanks for tuning in and giving us a comment. Patrick said, "It's two parties, one system. The ones pulling the strings are all behind the scenes anyway." And BJ, I believe, is asking if there are closed captions. I don't think we can have closed captions on a live stream. If there's a way, let us know and I'll enable it. If CC means something else, also let me know. But Patrick, your point is a perfect way of saying what I
yeah,
believe too. Is just like
yeah,
all the big money is behind making it look like you have a choice, you
yeah,
know, but the choice is in the big money, or the choice is in the people that have the wealth, you know.
yeah.
um, and whoever they put up there is just ends up being a puppet, I feel. And if they aren't a puppet, they'll get assassinated or something along those lines,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. The most powerful vote we have is with our money. And I think the most important thing to do and uh it comes down to food. Like if the more or the less that we support like fast food and corporate restaurants and stuff like that, and the more that we support local independent restaurants, but also local farming and agriculture, the more that fucks up the system. And so every dollar you spend that goes away from a corporation and into your community, that vote is way more powerful than being like, I like this asshole a little more than that asshole because I really fucking hate that asshole. So I'm going to vote for this asshole. Like that just plays into the game.
Hmm.
And so to really break the system, if you take as much as their stupid fucking monopoly money that they create and buy as much Bitcoin as you can and take it off an exchange and hold it yourself, that's a fucking very powerful vote. The more people go, well, fuck, I'm gonna have a podcast just so I can rant about shit. Maybe people will like it. That's a very fucking powerful vote to take that step to start putting your message out there, no matter what that message is. That's a powerful fucking vote. That is gonna reach more people than your stupid you know, lesser of two evils decision, once every 4 years.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing is that like the more important stuff that'll matter to you happens in between those every once in 4 years elections, and most people don't like rile people up and get on them about not voting during the midterms and the
Yeah, yeah.
special elections and all that stuff. It's just the president, where it's like the president fucking doesn't do anything. All the real shit's getting done by all the people that like gerrymandered, away to be in a district where nobody votes outside of presidential the presidential elections, and so like that's where all the real shit gets done, and all the real shit actually gets done by people that get hired and then just work for the government for 50 years in a high up position, and it doesn't matter if a Republican or Democrat's in. The real decisions and the real budget cuts and all that shit is getting done by these appointments that never die, that never go away. um so it's just I don't, if it makes people feel like it's important and they feel good, like they should vote, like that's your shit, don't listen to me. But that's a two-way street. Like I don't like that people I'm making a conscious decision not to vote. Like that
Yeah.
is my vote. My
Yeah,
vote
yeah,
is
yeah.
like present,
You're just not
like
you're not just like ignoring it.
right,
Yeah.
and so like uh if I was just like, oh, I got better things to do, I could see the response to not voting. But yeah, my vote is, and that happens all the time. Like Tulsi Gabbard on the stimulus bill just voted present, and so it's like that's what I do. I vote present.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm paying attention,
Yeah.
but it's fucked, and I don't give a fuck. Like
No, definitely. BJ said that he agrees with the money vote, and he wish more people would stop supporting large corporations. And that's something that I've been doing with all this. Is like whenever we order out, it's mostly always a local spot, or at least a small town spot. It's not normally a chain location.
yeah. I mean, I do, I like Chipotle. I go to Chipotle and stuff like
Hmm.
that, but for the most part, my fridge or my freezer is full of meat that was all raised and slaughtered within 50 miles of here,
Yeah,
And I
it's
I
awesome you
try
have
not
that opportunity though.
yeah, yeah. And I try not to eat meat out, but if I do, like it's whatever. I'm disappointed about it later, but like, I really, that's a conscious thing. And food's a big deal. Food is how they control us. If you look, if you know anybody uh like who hunts and grows their own food and doesn't, go and, and fishes and stuff, and doesn't doesn't go to any restaurants, doesn't rely on any grocery store or stuff like
Hmm.
that. um they don't give a shit about the government. And now it could be argued that that's why they're in that situation, but it's like, do they not give a shit about the government and politics because they got all their shit they need, or do they have all their shit they need because they wanted to do that because to get away from government? I don't know, but still, it's like there is that kind of common thread with being survivalist or whatever. It's like, I don't know, the government doesn't matter. But it's like the farther you get away from being a survivalist, the more you're reliant on the government. And so it's like, I think that's just part of my mentality too, is to kind of recede from that. Like, I don't need them. They don't have any power over me.
Yeah,
Um, you know.
that's important though. It's like it's the permaculture attitude, and I'm definitely
Yeah.
trying to get to that point too, where it's just uh, living off the grid. And I mean, you'll still have internet or whatever, so there's still that aspect of being on the grid. But when you don't, when your energy is coming from natural elements, and your water is being filtered, from the
Yeah.
rain, like nobody can say anything to you. Like
Right.
there's this Vice documentary my brother was telling me about, about a guy that lives um, in a very very secluded Alaskan territory, like Alaskan area community, that only few people can come to and live in and be residents of, as long as their like family was there. You had to have some heritage,
Yeah.
and he had no knowledge of 9/11 happening. Like he
Oh
just,
yeah. Right.
yeah, he
Yeah.
just like noticed that there was fewer planes that went overhead, and then like his food delivery guy, every 3 months came by, and he was like, "Hey, I noticed, planes weren't flying by recently. What's going on with that?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, 9/11 happened." And it's just
Yeah.
like, wait, what? And like I almost strive to be somewhat in that situation where it's just like all that stuff doesn't matter.
Right.
You're just doing your own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, and there's a balance.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got to
You don't
have a
want to be
balance with
completely
that because you
uninformed.
don't want to turn into the Unabomber either.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. There's a freedom in like knowing, like, because there's a part of me that's like, to some extent, I feel that government, not just in the United States, but just government in, like, for humans, is this like parasitic energy that over generations coddled us to the point that we thought we couldn't live without them.
Mm.
And I think that technology and just human knowledge and insight, like we're for as shitty and stupid as people act, we're actually smarter than we've ever been. And I think that, like, we could get to a point, if we let ourselves, to where I think society could function without government, not, and it would be anarchy, but not in the standard view of anarchy, which looks a lot like the scenes coming out of cities right now with shit on fire and stuff. I think uh that's anarchy in the moment, where I think that anarchy as a system looks a lot different than what people think. And I think that through technology and insight, we can get there, and I think could inevitably actually be the end game with society.
That'd be awesome.
Uh, yeah, but at that point, maybe we're talking about our, you know, artificial intelligence overlord masters, but still, um, the whole idea of just like, you got to go vote for this guy, and this, he's got a red tie on, and you like red ties, and
How weird is that?
that motherfucker with a blue tie is a piece of shit, I tell you what. And he used to fuck his secretary and whatever, and like, so you can't vote for him, and it's just like this nonsense game that, like, come on, y'all, like,
Yeah.
we
We're
got to be
better than
smarter than
this.
this. We're better than this at this point.
Adam just tuned in. What's up, Adam? Glad to see you made
But
it. He said, "Finally made it. You guys rock. Hope you're having both a great evening."
yeah, man, you too.
Yeah, you too, buddy. We're excited to get you on the podcast here soon too.
Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome. But yeah, the two-party system, man. I hope I see it go down. Or at least have the third party or fourth party be close in a race. Like have one of those parties actually contend in a big election. But I don't know, man. Where the people that are stuck in their ways, that are of the older generation, are all teaching their kids and raising their kids to think similarly. Like it's weird to me when I see, like, out in the open racist or like siding with police views on Twitter of people my age. I'm
Yeah.
just like, wait, what's going on here? Like it confuses me because being in a metropolitan area, everybody kind of, there's like a major big, like there's a big group think, going on
Yeah.
here. And then you forget about that there's these pockets of thought that aren't that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody likes to back a winner, and that's the unfortunate thing. And I hope this is what's starting to change. Is like the cops almost always win. Like, I'm glad this guy got arrested
Yeah.
that killed George
But
Floyd.
only third
But
degree.
I'm not so sure he's gonna get convicted though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I hope so. And like, fuck, if can you imagine what the riot's gonna be like if he does it? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But um,
And I mean, he still had bail. It was like
Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah, and then on top of it, um, the jogger in Atlanta,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
I, I mean, it comes down to the jury thing, and go back to my fucking thing. I was, like my
yeah. When you're
situation,
on jury duty.
and how a fucking dude like me still got peer pressured into to being like, fuck it, fucking guilty. Like, I could see people getting peer pressured into being not guilty, even if they're like, they killed that guy. Like, the only thing we have is this camera evidence that, and Trump has even said it, that like it moves away at the time that you need to see if who attacked who,
Yeah,
and so like I could see that case, them not getting convicted, and there's gonna be riots then. There's gonna be, and so like, I guess to get back to what you were saying, it's like the House wins a lot,
yep,
and it's just human nature to fucking a certain percentage of everyone over everything is going to root for the House. And I mean, I joked about it in a text to you, but and like I obviously like to call people like you're talking about bootlickers,
yeah,
and where the bootlickers were wearing these shirts that said, I can breathe, right? And I made a joke when I shared a link with I think it was in Australia where they had the little robot dog thing that was like
Oh,
breaking.
in South Korea, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That it was
yeah,
like breaking up people that weren't social distancing. And I joked, I was like, how long until the robot becomes racist and starts only going after black people?
yeah,
And we
yeah.
were laughing about that. And then I was like, yeah. And then there's going to be bootlickers wearing shirts that say, I don't need to breathe.
Yeah, man. It's odd.
That's just inevitable. But like, as much as I'm making a joke there, like, that's a fucking part of society is bootlickers all across the board, not just with cops. There's fucking just people that support the house. They
Yeah,
they root for the house. They go and everyone can be playing blackjack and they're looking for the dealer to get 21.
yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just I
That's
don't
so
get it.
weird. Yeah, yeah. It's true.
I don't get it because my personality is the complete opposite. I'm like, fuck the fucking house.
Yeah,
But there's a certain percentage that are like, this is our power structure.
this is how it
Fucking
is.
obey, bitch. you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
and like, I don't know.
Burzum chimed in. What's up, Burzum? Thanks for tuning in and leaving a comment. He said all the cops involved should be charged. Um, and BJ said you're right. You're probably right. No conviction. Um, yeah, man. I don't. Somebody on another live stream that I was participating in said like if there's 100 good cops and looking at the one bad cop, there's 101 bad cops. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the problem, and that's the core part of the system that is diseased and is causing this, energy, is that cops don't have to be held accountable
yeah,
by the court system or their peers. I don't. Being a cop is just a fucking job, man. It's just that it's a job where you can kill someone and it doesn't matter. Like, there's no other job where you can like accidentally fuck up and kill someone and you're going to keep your job,
yep,
you know? And so like, it's really fucked up that just because like these guys could, run an obstacle course and do 50 push-ups in a certain amount of time and,
right.
you know,
Go to a
and like,
5 month academy or whatever.
yeah, pass some, psychological test that, shows you're not going to be a fucking, whatever psycho, like, that's all. That's the application process. Like that, a piss test, and you're good. Here's a gun.
Hmm. Yeah,
You know.
and like I saw a comment of lawyers needing 8 years of university and a cop needs 5 months of academy. Like what's
Yeah.
going on there? So we got Adam chiming in. He asked if we talked about SpaceX. We did a little bit, man. We could definitely touch on that again. Burzum said, "Cheers, people. By the way, nice discussion. Appreciate it, buddy." Uh, And Adam, oh god, Adam asked if we talked about crypto at all. I'm not sure if you want to open up that floodgate, but we could definitely talk about it some more. Uh,
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about like its kind of role and everything that's going on.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, the
yeah,
larger
but
perspective of it.
yeah, as far as like market stuff, I know you were asking on the Discord, Adam, about theta, right? And this is the time. This next year, you're going to hear so much shit of like, oh, this coin, look at this coin, oh, look at it, it's doing good. And so, like, if you're lucky enough to get in before it pumps, great. But take those goddamn profits because all this shit doesn't matter. Bitcoin and Ethereum are what matter. Like, there's other coins, and you might be right. You might have that lotto ticket that blows up. But the thing is, it will fucking come down. You cannot hold on to it forever. I made that
We
goddamn
both
mistake.
have.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and it's all a learning process. Um, that shit coins. There will be one that maybe hangs on. Uh, but the thing is, with Bitcoin and Ethereum, a little bit, they aren't necessary. Those other two can do everything,
Hmm. And all the other ones are built on the backs of those, so it's like,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
And so, but that being said, the next year there's gonna be some crazy fucking shit happening in the world, which I know means there's gonna be some crazy shit happening with crypto. Uh, just today, Ethereum's up like 20% or something.
yeah,
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see an all-time high in crypto by the end of the year, just with, especially after the election. Like, I think a lot of stuff's on hold till then, and then a lot of stuff will shake out.
yeah.
Um,
Well, dude,
but I think this,
it's crazy. I actually like. I'm looking up at my dry erase board, and I was watching a video. I must have a little bit back, and it said how this year's cycle is going to mimic 2017's, and it says like summer 2020 into September there will be the plateau, and then
mhm,
September into 2021 is when things are going to really pick up.
yeah, and that's the thing. That's why we're that's why the maximalists of Bitcoin are so into this idea of like it's a sound money built on algorithms. Like, if we let our economy and our money production be based on math and computers instead of an appointed person in a bank, that tells other banks what to, the Fed is what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about. But like, if it wasn't this nonsense system that can just make up random amount of money and give it to whoever they want, um, if we trust the computers and the algorithms, it's going to be predictable. And so I really think that is built in, and Satoshi saw all this. I think that's what we're going to get at the end game of Bitcoin is we're going to be like, whoever the fuck Satoshi was, or who made up the group that was Satoshi, were fucking geniuses, and they socially engineered the whole goddamn world and started a new thing, a new revolution. And I really think that's plays into all this. And that plays into like we need one more cycle that follows what everyone said it would do, and everybody will be a believer after
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I agree.
And on top of that, in 2017 we had the bubble. The bubble was a greed bubble because everyone was doing good at that point. This next bubble next year is going to be a fear bubble because people aren't going to be doing good.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that is more irrational, like, because that's the thing, when it's going crazy and Bitcoin's up to 50, $60,000, whatever, it can be hard to sell because it's going to be very irrational as to why that's happening. But you need to take realized profits and take care of your financial situation. uh with crypto at that point, because it's going to be a crazy bubble, because the only thing more irrational than greed is fear. And so the fear bubble next year is going to be insane. And I mean, nothing's off the table price wise
Yeah,
of the stuff I've heard. I mean, $500,000 per Bitcoin, I could see it.
yeah, yeah.
Like I mean, it's I don't know. It's going to be an insane ride. And I guess what I'm saying is like there is going to be a lot of fucking shit coins that blow up, but
You have to know when to get out.
it it's not going to, and it's not going to be like shooting fish in a barrel like it was last time.
Yeah.
Like, um
Well, yeah, and it's just like as soon as the mental shift occurs where people accept the value of Bitcoin, that's when it's just going to take off because there's a lot of doubters right now and a lot of people that only accept paper money and well now with like debit cards and whatnot, not
and
all
that's going
paper.
away.
That's going
I mean,
away. Yeah.
dude, like there's a lot of restaurants and a lot of stores around here that are not accepting cash right now.
And I also think though that it's the idea of it is shifting. Whereas like, what is a Venmo dollar? You know,
Yeah,
what is it? It's not something you can hold. You know, so
yeah,
you can see that Bitcoin and crypto are along the same lines, and people are
yeah,
being more accepting of it. Um,
yeah.
but Adam chimed in and said, "So cool listening to you too with my wife. She's into it now. Thanks, bros. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for
Awesome, man.
for getting your wife into it." Burzum said on the topic of the police, a job where you get paid to lock people in cages is sort of unique. LOL. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the only job that there
yeah,
is. Yeah,
right.
either that or like maybe the military going after a terrorist. Either way, like it's kind of fucked up, man.
Yeah, no, it is. I fucking hate police. I
Yeah,
like I but the problem is they're unnecessary. Like everyone's like, oh, but they keep it safe or whatever. It's like they come do the paperwork after the fucking shit happened and figure out who to charge and where to get money. I do think I don't know how we would like police traffic. Like I think traffic would be crazy without cops.
hmm
But as far as like personal matters, like if someone breaks in your house, you call the cops. Like they're not going to get there and save you. Like you're either going to have to protect yourself or hope the person doesn't want to hurt you or whatever. It's like they just come do the paperwork. Um, I've had interactions I've had one interaction with a cop where I was like, "Hey, that's a nice guy." Where like a limb fell out of the tree in my house, and like he helped carry it to the backyard. But I'm a white guy in the suburbs. That's the only reason he fucking did that,
yeah,
And
yeah,
like I can't say that guy's not an asshole. And like if I was black, like would he have stopped or been like, "Hey, is that your house?" I don't know. Like
yeah.
it's hard to tell without judging or stereotyping. Um, but every other interaction I've had with a cop, they've been a fucking dickhead. And like I said, I do feel I've been profiled quite. I've had the scenario I laid out about getting my
Yep.
car searched and just shit left. I've had that happen several fucking times. Um, I've gotten tickets when I know I wasn't speeding, but I was in a nice part of town, and I had for a long time I had this car that I had gotten in an accident. And the bumper was hanging off, and my window had a duct tape, and it couldn't come down, and stuff like that. And uh, um, yeah, I got pulled over for speeding, even though like I never fucking speed because I'm super paranoid about getting pulled over. Uh, and like cops do that shit. And then even off duty, they're all fucking douchebags. Like everyone's got that, like, oh, my cousin's pretty nice, and it's like I get it, but they're fake heroes. Like policemen and EMTs, like they're fucking heroes to me or
EMTs,
firemen.
firemen and
Yeah,
EMTs.
firemen and EMTs. Like policemen, like
Eh,
there's situations where some of them are heroes, but most of them are doing mundane fucking revenue collection for the state.
yeah,
Like they're just people. I get it. It's just a job. So I'm not like gonna like fucking just flip off every cop I see or whatever. But it's not a profession that I respect. And again, that's privilege. There may be some people out there like a cop saved my life or something like that. But it's like it's a rare situation. They're usually assholes. And
yeah,
then the other rare situation is they're killing people for no reason because they're fucking scared themselves.
yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of people get into the profession like kind of without saying it for the power trip. It's like to
Yeah,
have that little ounce of power that
yeah,
to have like the say over whatever a person's doing. But I got to
yeah.
say, we have Cosmic Giggle chimed in the chat. What's up, buddy? He said,
What up,
"Hey,
dude?
what's up, guys? Good to see you." Um, Burzum said, "A bike cop will pull you over and give you a seatbelt ticket." LOL. I agree 100% about EMTs and firefighters being the real heroes.
Yeah.
Um, dude, I what point did I have about the police? Oh, in Norway, I just found this out. In Norway, I think it's mandatory that their cops have like 4 year university, and like
Yeah.
to me, that would be a good shift to uh, maintain cops, but like you're not killing off all these jobs, but at the same time you're like, hey, these are the new requirements, and with that comes life experience, schooling, ethics training, and all that stuff. That after 4 years in a university setting, you'd hope these people would be like
Yeah.
deprogramming from their bad ways.
Yeah. No, I mean, everything's better in Scandinavia, man.
Yeah.
Like whenever someone's like, "Well, did you hear in Norway?" or "Oh, well, in Sweden they do." It's like it's always fucking better. Like Iceland, Finland, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
No.
it's because it's like it's fucking winter, 10 months out of the year there, and it's like they're just sick of being shitty to each other. So it's
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
just
know, but
happy to see everyone.
they just they just set up society better there, man. Like I like I don't know if you ever looked into like the Swedish like prison system, but
No,
it's like a resort.
really.
They let people, yeah, you know, like you can regularly get out early, and then it's just like if you do anything, you just have to go back and serve the rest of your term. But they don't even call it parole. You don't have to apply. It's just like you've been pretty good lately. I may be wrong about that,
Yeah.
like it's like um yeah, it's just like a lot better prison system and everything.
I've
Except for
wondered.
people who've done like really violent stuff, but that's even so rare there. Like they just
Yeah.
don't have the
I think
violence.
the article that brought up the like the university degree also brought up the fact that I don't think I could have this wrong, but I think they said they haven't had like a cop kill somebody in like 4 years or something like that. Like
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I'm sure it's less incidents and all that stuff, that all weighs into it. But it's just like
yeah.
coming from America, that's just like, wait, that
Yeah.
exists?
Yeah. They did have. I don't know. I can't remember if it was Sweden or Finland or Norway. It might have been Norway, but they did have that terrible mass shooting. Uh, but guess what? It was super politically motivated and partisan
Really?
because it was a super conservative, whatever their conservative party is, guy who posed as a cop and went to this island. Did you hear about this?
No, no. When was this?
Dude, uh, maybe like less than 10 years ago,
Okay.
but super fucking tragic. But I guess my point is like this is fucking partisan politics for you. I mean, obviously the guy had a screw loose, but he was like he had enough, together to like represent himself in court and stuff. Uh, but like he blew up, he set off like a pipe bomb at like the party he didn't like's headquarters. Like in the city, I think it was in Oslo. I think it was Norway. Uh, and so while everyone was focused on that, he drove and took a boat out to this island, which there was this camp for like aspiring young liberals or something like that. Like it was like a political like fostering ground of liberals, and he dressed as a police officer and like said like everyone needs to come here, and like hundreds of kids at this whole camp like came because like there was a terrorist action and like the police had to tell them like what they were going to do or whatever. And then once the whole camp showed up, he just started mowing everybody down and let himself get captured so that he could represent himself and get a platform to like you know spout his hate against this one political party he didn't like. And so it's like that's their fucking like the one like black spot I can like find
Yeah.
in like the global scene of Norway is this like partisan politics. If like it takes one guy with a screw loose but enough to keep it together to understand shit to like decide like I hate this other party so much and everything they stand for, I'm going to kill their children, you know? And
Yeah.
that's fucking politics. It's also mental health. Obviously,
Well,
this
yeah.
guy was not right, but I think that's the other problem with our two-party system is it gets people so worked up that the fucking,
It does.
you know, the real psychopaths like feel justified in doing stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I hadn't heard of that, man. That's horrible.
Yeah. But aside from that, it's like there's just so many examples of like, yeah, Iceland, Norway, Finland, Sweden, like they they're just a better culture that still has like kind of the Western like kind of comfort that we have, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like their culture just handles shit better. I don't know.
Yeah. I I was thinking earlier today about at what point is like common sense going to become a law, you know? Because
Hmm.
I hate that you can get I mean common sense means something different to everybody, obviously, which is the problem with it. Um but it's like how can these people with visual proof get away with it? What's happening?
Well,
You know?
yeah,
It's just because like there's still hearsay in the situation and there's still it's not enough to like legally in the court of law prove that they did something, you know, which
yeah.
I don't know, it's just like it's discouraging to me, I feel.
You know, honestly, it goes back to what we were talking about with Elon and uh the technological future of humanity. You know, once neural net is like a common thing that everyone has it, then we understand common sense. You know, we can't
Yeah,
be manipulated. Like everyone, common sense is still a personal viewpoint.
yeah,
That guy that shot up all those kids, he was like, he thinks his view is common sense. These are the fucked up
yeah,
ones, and
yeah,
I need to
yeah.
get rid of them. You know, there's people that think that Donald Trump has the most common sense out of anyone in Washington.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of people.
Yeah,
Half our country fucking thinks that. You
yeah.
know, and so we just need to get past being able to be manipulated. We need to get to a point where we're aware of our feelings. And I think there is common sense. It's just that we are manipulated to think that someone else's view of how it should be is common sense. But I think we all have that intuition. We all have that potential. We all have the ability to foster our awareness and grow our awareness of ourselves and our awareness of our emotions, and I think that a common sense would emerge. I think that's the problem is we're just so out of touch with ourselves because nobody has awareness. We're all distracted. We're all following someone else's thing, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's premeditated or it's just a ripple effect, but not in a good way of, you know,
All the
just following.
distractions.
It's following the distractions, and we all get distracted, and then we're like, no, this thing I'm distracted, I'm more important, you're just distracted from what I'm focusing on here, but it's all a distraction. And I think that, you know, that's another area that the psychedelic community and by leading by example and letting all this stuff flow through us like water, just like we do our thoughts during meditation and our emotions and stuff like that, and we continue to grow in our awareness of ourselves, both individually and then increase that out into our community, our loved ones, and stuff like that, uh, and share that ability to do that. I think that's where common sense comes from, is just our intuition that's already there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that may be added by neural net and
Yeah.
and stuff. Um, or maybe we're in a race against that. You know, maybe the psychedelic community is working on like natural neural net, and you know, we just have to complete uh, our mission before they stick stuff in everyone's neck. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I yeah, I could see. I mean, Elon in the Rogan, the latest Rogan, talking about neural net was like, I'm just worried about if like a mental virus gets into that. You know,
Yeah,
not meaning somebody gets anxiety. Everybody that has neural net gets anxiety. It's like having an ideology be the virus. You know,
yeah. Hmm.
that's what he's worried about.
Yeah, but yeah, a bug in that system is scary. Yeah,
Very. Yeah, when it's in your
yeah.
brain, that's
When
definitely
you can't,
scary.
yeah, yeah.
But Adam left us a comment saying always smoking the HFTO live Chiba for you dudes. Hell yeah. I anything else you wanted to talk about, man? We're actually at 2 hours right now.
Oh damn, yeah. No, I think that's pretty good. I probably gotta get to bed,
Yeah, man.
but
We'll do this again though
yeah,
soon.
I hope anyone that watched it enjoyed, and um, I think this is a good way to do episodes with you and I, and you know, obviously we still have guests and stuff come on, but I think this is pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Let me go through and thank everybody real quick. I got uh Burzum, thank you. Oh, somebody actually just chimed in. He says this guy his username is Four Strokes, and he says Ruben's head looks like a hairy mushroom. Oh God. All right. Well, anyways, thank you for Strokes, Burzum, Adam, uh, Cosmic Giggle, Will, thank you, BJ, thank you, Patrick, Manning, Sharon Hawk, Crystal Skull Tuna, Black Radius, Paul Sevilla, Ryan Dodson, In the Woods, Orange Juice After Hours, Ha Ha Ha, and I believe Rich was the first one to chime in. So thank you everybody. I'm gonna go ahead real quick
Awesome.
and let me grab an invite link to our Discord if nobody's in there already. I'm gonna post it to the chat. So that's our Discord link. If people want to join in, it's pretty much this, but just in text. You know, just a good open-minded forum for whatever ideas you got. And there's different little pathways you can go down. Um, oh, one last thing about distractions that I caught myself on that was hilarious is like going into Twitter drama in the reply section of somebody that you have no idea who they are, and just like seeing two people that you're never gonna know come into contact with each other. And I caught myself doing it finally. I was like, all right, I gotta get off this shit. I was like, that is the
Yeah,
sign that I need to get off this shit. Um,
yeah,
but Adam said, good night, guys. I'll rewatch the full up in the AM. Thanks, man. We'll be back on this soon. We'll do another live stream soon, Ruben, and always good talking to you, buddy.
yeah, man.
All right, later.
All right, peace, guys.